another Solid Gold podcast.
Welcome to this week's edition of sapeople.com with me, Melanie Walker in Johannesburg, and Jenni Baxter over in Antibes in France. How are we this week, Jenni?
Hello, Mel. We're very, very well, thank you.
That's good. You see, we are having.
And
you've been in Klerksdorp.
I
went to Klerksdorp, of all places. I've never been there before, and I've driven through Potchefstroom twice, but I didn't go that route. But it was quite weird. On the way to Klerksdorp, I noticed there were these like fields of sunflowers and cosmos. So I thought on the way back, I have to stop off and just play. But my phone ran out of battery, so I couldn't take photographs. You have no idea how big.
Did you still play?
No, I went and walked around and hung out with the bees and the insects and everything. And the heads on some of these sunflowers were like, I'm not joking, about a foot across. Sorry, I know I'm talking in imperial instead of in metric. But that's the best way to describe it. Like about a ruler. 30 centimeters, some of the heads on that thing, like so heavy and hanging down. It was just unbelievable. Fields of bright yellow.
And that cosmos is really tall.
Yeah, cosmos. I mean, I sent you some pictures of the cosmos at Delta Park, which, I mean, I go and walk in all the time, and it really is phenomenal.
So
what is distressing, though, and I noticed this when I was on the road, is that there were lots and lots of pink and very dark pink cosmos out on the roads. But in Delta, you find very, very few. In fact, it's going almost all just white because people keep on going and picking all the flowers. And then, of course, the flowers don't get a chance to set seed, which means that there's no seed because, of course, they're annuals. And they're setting seed from the flowers from this year. So if you're going walking and you see the cosmos, please don't pick it. Okay, I know it's not an indigenous plant. But
what are you saying? Why is the dark pink
because the people keep on picking all the pink ones, and the dark pink ones specifically. So they leave the white ones, which then go and set seed, and then you get white plants, the white flowers the next year. But because everybody's going and picking all the pink stuff, okay, it's just getting fewer. Yeah. There are fewer and fewer pink plants in Delta Park and any areas where people go walk in this cosmos. So be thoughtful. That's all. And be lekker.
Oui.
All right. So what is the main story you've got this week, Jenni?
Well, I thought just a lovely story about expats in South Africa was Elon Musk's mom, who is May Musk and is a supermodel and a superwoman. She got an honorary doctorate in the past week from the University of the Free State because it turns out that she went to university there and got her degree in dietitian, nutrition, and she's done incredible things. I think her website was one of the very first websites for nutrition in the world. She's got all these accolades that are like, the only person who's got the dietitian thing in 3 different countries. And so she was given this honorary doctorate very deservedly. But the lovely thing as an expat that South Africans should bear in mind is that when we come to South Africa, we want South African food. And, she was really hanging for boerewors and pap. But no restaurants were serving boerewors and pap. So she ended up having to make it at home wherever she was staying.
That's true. You don't really go to restaurants and get boeries. But then she should have just gone to London and gone past, in fact, a lot of the Pick and Pays.
But she was in the Free State.
Oh, she was in the Free State. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But they should be doing a divorce down in the Free State. That's really weird.
I think everybody does it at home and they don't think to do it in a restaurant.
Because I know where you can go and buy like boerie rolls all over kind of the northern suburbs. It's kind of like everywhere. Yeah. But I wanted...
And I know where you can buy it I know where you can buy it in New York.
Okay.
There's a great restaurant, Kaya, in New York that, has the best boerewors. So she probably goes there and is used to that.
And then, of course, in Chiswick, there was the most amazing South African emporium when I was living there back in the day, where you could go and get your boerewors and biltong and stuff from as well.
Yeah, but you had to cook that yourself.
But I think that like on a weekend that they would actually make boerie rolls. And with onions and everything, which was really cool. But what I want to know is, I've got 4 degrees from UNISA. Where's my honorary doctorate?
But you know what? She was at that university, so she was part of the... That's a hard thing with being online. People don't
They don't suss.
realize as much. You don't make that relationship as well.
Well, I feel very, very put out. All right.
And she also said while she was there that she's still absolutely fluent in Afrikaans. Because, she moved to South Africa when she was 3 years old, and going to university in Bloem, she obviously is fluent in Afrikaans. But after all these years living in Canada and America, she's still
So along
fluent.
with me, she's one of the 44 people who speak Afrikaans, eh? So take that, Charlize.
Turns out there might be 46.
Take that for Charlize, that's it. Ek gooi die taal baie goed, ek sê. Yesterday, I was sitting, we were just chatting about it before we started recording, about in Klerksdorp yesterday, and saying, I said to the people, look, I totally understand Afrikaans, but I don't have as big a range of vocabulary, and I lose the words sometimes. So please feel free to speak to me in Afrikaans and ask me your questions in Afrikaans, because a lot of the time Afrikaans people will speak in English instead of speaking in Afrikaans, even if they know you can understand. And I was just sitting and thinking, many people in the world might think this is like quite odd, that I'm speaking completely.
But I don't think so,
I'm speaking
Mel.
like completely in English, and
I think it's pretty
having
normal.
a full-on conversation, but in two different languages.
Yeah. That's what we do here almost every day. And like when our kids are at school, they speak almost a mixture of languages. But it's very normal that one person speaks in French and the other person answers in English, and they laugh and drink all night long.
It is weird. I was just thinking about it. Was rather incongruous.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I wonder if it is normal or if people think that South Africans are odd. Anyhow.
No.
Right. So what
No.
news have you got for expats apart from about Memusk?
Well, if you're in France, or a lot of people from Europe who travel to South Africa often go through Paris. And the good news for the business people, or the people who can afford business travel, is that Air France has upgraded their seats, so they are now 2 meters long in business class, and they lie flat down, so you've got a real good night's sleep on your way to South Africa. So get onto that. And then also, if you're in London, head on right now to Somerset House until the 1st of May. There's an exhibition, the Sony World Photography Awards, and very proudly, there's a South African there. She's like a visual storyteller, Leanne Ulwich, and she has won the World Photography Award for the professional creative category. Her submission is called The Right to Play. And she actually photographed it in Kenya with Maasai girls at school who are normally forced to leave school at a very young age, 12 or younger, to go and get married. And this is now, what if we let them stay at school for longer? What if we gave these children the right to play? And the photos are very joyous and wonderful.
Is it Ulwich or Ulwache?
I don't know.
Okay, so Ulwich or Ulwache, whichever. It's like you say, Labuschagne or Labuskachni. There's a couple of and Duvenage. Somebody was talking about somebody. I'm not sure if the person who is in politics here in South Africa, I don't know who it is. They Duvenage. And I'm like, is it Duvenage or Duvenache? So it's one of those things. Anyhow. All right. So news from expats. What have people been doing overseas that may be making us Saffers proud?
Well, remember, we did speak about her last week, Michaela Klainsmith, who was an Idols contestant in South Africa and then has won Reese Witherspoon's My Kind of Country competition on Apple Plus. There have been 3 billboards across America, major music cities, Nashville, New York, LA, and it's just emblazoned with Michaela's face playing guitar. And she was just saying, so for all South Africans in those cities, they're getting so proud just seeing her up there. And when she was a kid, she actually used to cut out her face and put it onto pretend billboards.
Sweet.
So she says she didn't even know she had the dream, and now it's come
awesome.
true. And then also Princess Charlene has been making many South Africans proud with her beautiful composure, how healthy she's looking and how happy she's looking. She was at the Monte Carlo tennis this last weekend, which is huge here. And the lovely thing is also that her brother Sean came over from South Africa with his family, Chantal Woodstock and the 2 children. And they were really enjoying themselves. To me, it looks so much like Cape Town, but climbing in the mountains around Monaco and seeing the beautiful views and everything. And so, yeah, they're obviously super fit. I don't know when last I climbed those mountains.
They're obviously super fit.
Yeah.
I mean, it just follows on. I mean, I'm sure that if they do go to Cape Town, that they will run up Skeleton Gorge on Table Mountain, which we don't want people doing without knowing where they're going and making sure that we don't have to go and find people to come and save them from the mountain, like the people with the drone. Yeah, so be careful when you're climbing mountains unless you're super fit. And even then, if you're super fit, a lot of the time you still need to take some care. I mean, I know that somebody got blown. Got blown off. A friend of my brother's got blown off of Lion's Head. Super fit as well. He was taking a photo. It was a few years back. I mean, he got blown off Lion's Head. That was that. It happens. Please be careful when you're going walking. Don't think, because everybody's walking it, that it's a walk in the park. It's not a park. It's a mountain. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we go on to what people are doing here in South Africa that can make people overseas proud.
So many things happening, Mal. I put this story in because I know how much you care about the vegetation. And I don't know if you know, but Newlands Forest has really been struggling since the late 90s with bark stripping, illegal
but it's not just
bark stripping.
Hey?
And a lot of...
KZN, it's so bad because people think that a lot of the stuff is mooty. And my dad used to go into the subtropical forests all the way down the south coast, and he would actually go and find people who were stripping bark off trees which are not mooty trees. But then what they started doing in Cape Town, where the people were taking it, then it was like there were some trees that the guys were saying it was like a drug or something. So they started painting all the trees white. The bark, if you look at a lot of trees in Cape Town city itself, you'll see that the trunks have been painted with some stuff which actually then renders it useless to drug addicts or
so like
muting.
Painting a rhino horn.
Painting it.
But why did this only begin in the late 90s? Why wasn't it?
Because people started seeing that there was they could monetize it.
Thinking that there was.
They could monetize it.
Yeah,
and then they go and do it without even thinking about what they're actually doing, because the moment that they start stripping bark off of a tree, if they take it all the way around, that tree is now ring-barked and it's going to die.
Dies. Yeah, because that's where it gets its nutrients and its water from. Fortunately this week they managed to arrest 3 people. So,
string them up.
They feel that they're turning a corner on the fight against that. Just lovely news for Jacques Callis, who was our
how do you say his name?
Jacques
Callis.
Oh no, please. How do you say
Callis.
What did I say?
Jacques Callis.
Callis. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, him and his wife Charlene. Yes. Yep. I said that right. Gave birth. Had a little baby girl yesterday. So congratulations to them, little Chloe. And Chloe has an older brother, 3-year-old brother already. Also, I interviewed somebody yesterday, a South African actor who is coming up, and it was his 25th birthday yesterday. So that was really cool, and he only told me near the end of the interview, Cantona James. So happy 25th birthday to him.
To you.
Oh, you sound like Marilyn.
Oh, I can do it, but he's not president, so I won't.
Then on this weekend, next weekend. But now's the time to start planning, is the very famous Karoo Food Festival. So it'll be the 10th year, next weekend, 27th to the 30th of April. And they've introduced a new Potjie Masters, and it has all these different categories, which are really cool. Like, okay, so of course there's the Potjie champion dish, but there's also the most innovative Potjie, the bravest Potjie, and the best starch side dish, which is obviously going to be very yummy, and a few other categories.
I love
too.
Potjie. I absolutely love
that's
them.
incredible.
That's incredible in the Eastern Cape. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, they're shooting a new season of I think Ultimate Braai Master at the moment, and friends of mine that I work with in the green industry, they do like Bokashi, Earth Probiotics. They're the people who have been responsible for making sure that there's like almost zero waste at like the Mount Nelson Hotel and for various businesses. So they are actually working with the Ultimate Braai Masters to make sure that they are also completely zero waste at the end of the program when they're shooting, which is great. So that is Gavin Heron, who's also, well, I'm surprised he's not going to be down there because he was at Queen's College, which is one little town away from Craddock, essentially in Queenstown, yeah.
Well, maybe he will be there.
He will be there. But it's I can't wait to have a Potjie. Oh, I love it so much. I have my special pot. And did you know with the pots that you can always tell what size the pot is by how many rings it has?
Like a tree.
Yeah, because on the Potjie, if you look at the outside of the Potjie, you'll see it's got like divisions. And so you've got like a 6-ring Potjie or a 10-ring Potjie. So that if it's a 10-ring, then you know immediately. So it's like, you talk about 30-centimeter saucepans.
It's big.
You talk about rings when it comes to Potjies. There we go.
Okay. I'll check next time. Other good, great South African news is just Gerda Steyn, how amazing, who won 2 Oceans for the 4th time and in a record-breaking time. She's just like, she doesn't stop. So well done to her, and to Give Moore, who won the men's race, of course. And then Banyana coach, Desiree Ellis, who we've spoken about a lot, because remember, she got the team to the African Cup of Nations, got them to win, got them qualified for the FIFA World Cup. She is getting honored for her excellence with the National Order of, and you will pronounce this better than me, Order of Ikamanga.
Yeah.
President Ramaphosa will be giving her that. So.
Talking about people running. Okay,
Very
sorry,
cool.
I was just looking up something.
Yeah.
So I train with somebody here in Johannesburg. She travels around the world running big marathons. So she's just done incredibly well.
Is she South African?
Her name is Karen Bruff. And she's I think one of the top masters in the world when it comes to doing marathons. She's phenomenal. So she's just done Boston Marathon, and she allows herself to have ice cream when she runs, and that's her reward for running. But yeah, so she did. I don't know how many times she's done the Boston Marathon, but this was the 127th one of the Boston Marathon itself. So she just travels around the world and like doing South Africa proud by always being in the top 3 in the Masters Women's. So yeah.
And then is she sponsored?
Yep. She just goes and does it.
Wow,
that's her thing in life. She runs marathons.
That's amazing to be able to finance yourself to live your dreams. That's brilliant. Hey, and talking ice cream, did you see the large role that ice cream tubs have made in the demise of Tupperware?
I saw that people are going, oh yeah, and it's actually, I've sat and thought about it, and I thought, yeah, but my Tupperware is different to, we all use ice cream tubs, and they use them at primary schools as well, because they're really great for holding things and keeping moths and cockroaches out of your food, etc., etc. But there's nothing that can beat Tupperware, but Tupperware is on the way down, which is so sad.
Yeah, but it's because I think a lot of other companies have done the same thing as Tupperware, but a bit better. And we still call it Tupperware, but it's not actually from the Tupperware branded company. But that South African guy, Temba Robin, who's very funny, he does the safaris with a David Attenborough voice.
Yes.
He's done a great, very sad safari about, the near extinction of the Tupperware. It's really
is that on
good.
SAP Phil on Facebook? So I've got to go and watch it.
It is. It is. Look out for that. That darn ice cream tub. And then a lovely story that we've got is Dora, a lady from Limpopo. What's not lovely is that since 2011, over 100,000 people have left Limpopo because it's this area of Limpopo because it's so hard to get a job. And so she's had to be inventive. And over the last couple of years, she's found a way to make 4,000 Rand a month with recycling. So she's helping South Africa and the environment and her children at the same time.
That is great.
And she has a kind of she goes to game and to spa and she sorts their plastic and cardboard and whatever.
By the way,
so
I want to tell you that there is also a company here in Johannesburg, in Albertskroon, which is on the other side of Northcliffe Hill, if you remember where that is, Jenny. And they're called Upcycle. And basically, Winnie, Upcycle McHenry, what she does is she takes the money that she's made from the little shop, because they take corporate stuff, they debrand everything. And then she will look, if it's clothing, obviously you can like sell the clothing on. She will look at some of the stuff and think, well, let me see how I can use this differently. Okay. And then all the money they make from the shop, she puts back into training people how to do this, how to sew. And she, like billboards, they will make stuff out of the billboards, the material, old billboards, you name it. She will come up with a use for stuff that would usually be going into landfill. So she trains people that can then go out and start their own businesses as well. So it's just, I mean, people who are so inventive and so caring about the environment, and also so caring about getting other people in a position where they are able to look after themselves and do not just stuff for their family, but for the environment as well. Hands up.
It's wonderful. But
yeah, well done.
But it reminds me also of this 25-year-old who we interviewed yesterday in Cannes, the South African Cantona James. He's an Arendtsvlei, if you've ever watched that. But he's now the star of Spinners, which is doing so well, and has been the first African TV series ever nominated for Best TV Series at the Cannes series. But he blew me away. We were speaking about Hollywood and everything, and he said, when he was younger, Hollywood was his dream. But now, and you can feel it in his atmosphere, he is just driven to tell his people's story, the story of colored people in South Africa, and to just try and improve life and understanding for his people. It's wonderful.
So I'm glad that there are people like that, because I happened across a documentary on Disney Plus with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's how he got involved in the environmental thing. It was the other side of the water or something. And the amount of politicians who sit there and are denigrating him and saying, what, he's an actor, what does he know about this? He's saying that there's climate change. They're saying, and I'm just sitting there thinking how amazing life and the world would be if everybody spent as much time and effort in actually addressing issues instead of hiring spin doctors to talk nonsense and for them to sit there and talk nonsense. Imagine how awesome the world would be if everybody actually came together and said, let's make this a better place. I'm so sick of politicians. They could all... There's an Italian phrase, which I think they use it in French as well, but I'm not going to say it because otherwise we might get banned.
I know what it is.
I only swear in Italian, as you know.
Yes.
By the way, did you see, and this brought me back to a few years back, did you hear that Bryan Adams is coming back out to South Africa?
Yes, and not only that, but today, I've just done the story, he's just added 2 more dates. Okay. Because the others were sold out, but still no Durban.
Yeah, well, I mean, I went to go and see him at Sun City, and that must have been in about 1996, because I was working on Front Row, which was on Mnet in those days. So we went up there to go and shoot with him. And I was then standing in the audience during the actual performance, and some girl was getting hassled by some guy in the crowd, so she turned around and tear gassed him, and I was right behind the guy. So then we all got tear gassed during Bryan Adams's concert, which was not much fun, I have to be honest.
You're going to have to go to the next one. And again, it's Pretoria, Cape Town and Pretoria, no joke.
No, for me to go to Pretoria at night, it's just not a thing. Everybody says, you can do the car train and then Uber, but it ends up being quite expensive after a while, instead of just popping into wherever you are. Anyway, what else is there in the way of entertainment? I mean, I've been, as I said, watching all kinds of different stuff, and I've finally started watching The Mandalorian, and I'm loving it because I love Star Wars.
Yeah, can you imagine? Well, Blood and Water, that I have raved about. It's done, and it's the second season now on Netflix. It's done so well that Netflix has actually said they have pledged 960 something million to the creative industry in South Africa to get more shows done.
We have such an amazing industry here in South Africa with so many people. I'm talking about old school people here, okay? The people who actually know what they're doing instead of thinking, I've just come out of AFTA and now I'm a TV director. I'm like, please go make me coffee.
Hey, not everybody.
A lot of them are that come out of AFTA. They think that they're directors and they're actually T-boys, okay? But the South African movie and television industry is actually, when you've got good people that you're working with, is streets ahead of so many other places. And I saw a lot of people are raving about something we were speaking about last week with Unseen. They're saying this is one of the best things that they've seen on television in a very long time. And people from the actual industry, not just your usual common variety viewer, people who look at it critically and saying this is really great, you should be watching it. So go and check out Unseen as well. Yeah.
So you haven't watched it yet yourself? Because remember, I tried to, and then
you've got to have somebody to watch it with. I don't do horror movies. I've told my kids they must watch it and give me some feedback.
Good. And then I know you won't watch this, but The Real Housewives of Johannesburg is coming back. And also Bonang, there was a big noise on Twitter. Everybody's very excited. Bonang Mateba is the latest addition to Young, Famous and African. So she'll be on from the 19th of May, and I think she's going to rule it.
I'm very interested in people who are being famous for being famous. Like the Kardashians. They become famous for being famous. And Paris Hilton,
But people who can take it, because you get luck, but then what you do with that luck. So they were famous for being famous, but then they got the right people around them to make businesses, to, they've done a lot of good. They've, and they've made a lot of money for themselves as well. But I think there's still something there. There's some kind of a talent there if you can hold it.
If you can.
Because lots of people get a chance and lose it.
So what have you got coming up on, what is your story that you're putting together for next week at the moment?
Well, Cantona James, just really read the interview. I think it's such an eye-opener for a lot of South Africans. He's, a young coloured guy who grew up in Johannesburg and then later went to Stellenbosch and his career's taken off. But, he's come from the most unimaginable tragedy. And he also talks about the racism, but how it's different in different parts of the country. So Johannesburg comes out, Johannesburg, he said, is like a family. No matter what race, you guys work together as a team. And he doesn't necessarily feel that in other places. So it's insightful. And then some beautiful news with some beautiful pictures coming up is Redbury Maze in George. I don't know if you know it.
No, I'm going to have to go there and see.
I'll send you the link to the article as soon as we publish it. But it is an insane maze with like underground things and strawberries and blah, blah, blah. And it has just been featured as one of the top 10 great gardens in the world.
Ooh, I'm going to definitely have to go there. I still want to go to the Lost Gardens of Heligan and to the Poisoner's Garden, which is in the northeast of England. So there's certain gardens, and this is at least a little easier to get to, so I'm going to have to do that. By the way, talking about garden...
Hey, we've got a... Yep. Oh, sorry. No, it's just whenever you do finally come visit me, we have a garden here, which is the biggest rose garden in the world, and there's a rose called the Nelson Mandela rose. Yes.
There's also a rose called Madiba.
Oh, maybe it's that. I'll take you. And I'll check.
We're talking about, for years, one of my favorite guerrilla gardeners that I've worked with, Michael Rickhoff and myself, have been threatening to create gardens in all the potholes in Johannesburg, because we did do some of them actually. We went and planted gardens in the ones that have been there forever. But I would like to say a big shout out and a thank you to the Pothole Patrol. It's difficult to say it, Pothole Patrol. Thanks to Dial Direct and Discovery for going around and actually doing the work which our municipalities should be doing, but they can't because they stole all the money. So big shout out to them for actually trying to keep us a little safer on the roads, so that we don't kind of hit big potholes in the middle of the night and flip our cars. So that's my thing. And in the meantime, if you see a pothole and it's been there for a while, go plant a garden. Why not? Jenny, we'll catch up with you next week. And next week, of course, we're going to be speaking to somebody quite special, who we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, from having done something really awesome overseas. But you'll have to wait for next week to catch that one. Have a wonderful week, my darling.
Thank you, you
and
too.
And of course, don't forget to get your stories along to Jenni on sapeople.com. We just want to hear all the good news from you and all the things that people are doing. We look forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye.
Another production from Solid Gold Podcasts.